In this video, we are going to look at approaches to research. We are going to look at the quantitative and qualitative method. To understand more about quantitative and qualitative method, let us look at the definition of quantitative and qualitative method. So for quantitative method, actually, it is about an inquiry made by a researcher into a social or human problem. So once they have made the inquiry, they will make a test on the theory, composed of variables, and they measure with numbers, and they analyze using statistical procedure. So after they have done that, when they got the finding, they will determine whether the predictive generalization of the theory holds true or not. Meanwhile, for qualitative is actually an inquiry process of understanding a social or human problem. But it is not tested using a theory. And then it is not analyzed using statistical procedures. But it is more based on the building a complex and holistic picture, and then it is formed with words, reporting detailed views of informants and conducted in a natural setting. Basically, there are many types of qualitative research and quantitative research. For example, in quantitative research, the most common method or type that we use is surveys or laboratory experiments. We can also use structural equation modeling such as PLS, statistical analysis, econometrics, simulation, and mathematical modeling. Meanwhile, for qualitative research, there are also various varieties such as action research, case study research, grounded theory, narrative and metaphor, hermeneutics, discourse analysis, and so on. Basically, the reason why we choose quantitative or qualitative method is due to the purpose. If the researcher plans to explain and predict, or if the researcher plan to test, confirm, and validate the theory, so the researcher need to opt for quantitative research. Otherwise, if the researcher plan to describe and explain, or explore and interpret, and to build theory, so it is recommended for the researcher to use qualitative research. Hi, so we are going to continue in terms of the quantitative and qualitative considerations. So basically, quantitative and qualitative, they are from two separate paradigms. So the quantitative paradigm is based on positivism. So science, what they think about science is characterized by empirical research. They must have numbers. So all phenomena can be reduced to empirical indicators which represent the truth. The ontological position of the quantitative paradigm is that there is only one truth and objective reality that exists independent of human perception. So, for quantitative paradigm people, they are very, very objective, the objective reality. And this objective reality must be measured statistically. So if their way of coming up with the research question, it is in terms of confirmatory or predictive, because they want to confirm on certain theory, whether it is applicable or not, whether this is good or not, that particular theory. So once, apart from that, when they are looking at the research literature, usually it must be large. They have to look at in terms of overall what has been done in that part for that particular subject or topic if they want to do the research. Okay, another one is that these quantitative researchers, they must have skills in statistics, and they are more towards deductive reasoning. It means that they have a theory that they want to test. Once they have tested the theory, they have the findings, then they want to know whether that particular finding is generalizable or not. It is true or not. So the way they write, it is more in terms of a technical and scientific style. Okay, in contrast with the qualitative paradigm, it is actually based on interpretivism, okay, and also constructivism. So ontologically speaking, there are multiple realities or multiple truths based on one's construction of reality. So reality is actually socially constructed, and so is constantly changing. So it means that qualitative researcher, they believe that there are multiple constructed realities that defy easy measurement or categorization. So it is based on interpretation of the social scientists. It is very unique, and it is very based on that particular researcher. So the research question, usually it is more towards exploratory or interpretive in nature. And in terms of the available research literature, it is quite limited, or even it is non-existent, because usually this type of researcher, they are the ones who will be creating theory. So on an epistemological level, there is no access to reality independent of the minds, no external reference by which to compare claims or truth. So basically, the investigator ataupun the scientist and the object of the study are interactively linked, so that findings are mutually created within the context of the situation which shapes the inquiry. So this particular research scientist, if they are a qualitative researcher, usually they must be looking from the perspective of inductive reasoning. It means that they are looking at the phenomena first, then they will create the theory. They are very attentive to details, and they are able to write in a more literary and narrative style. Okay, so to make it clearer between quantitative research and qualitative research, let us look at the difference of these two based on the objective, sample, data collection, data analysis, and the outcome. For qualitative research, okay, the objective is to understand the underlying reasons and motivation. They want to understand the reason, they want to understand the experience and things like that. But for quantitative, they prefer to quantify data so that they can generalize findings from sample to the population. Okay, in terms of the sample, for qualitative researcher, they are okay with small numbers of non-representative case. But for quantitative, this is compulsory. They must have a large number of a representative case. For data collection, for the qualitative researchers, it is unstructured actually, because they based on the interviews, they based on observations and things like that. But for quantitative, it is more structured. They will know the time, how long, and things like that. And for data collection, Qualitative, it is non-statistical, but for quantitative, it is statistical. And the outcome of qualitative is actually, it is to develop an initial understanding. But for quantitative, actually, it will recommend a final course of action.